Well, another week, another loss, another game with not scoring 20 points. Browns are now 1-5. We are in football hell once again, Browns fans. Some good fantasy football opportunities, though. Overall, big trade. We'll get into that. Some under-the-wire waiver wire pickups. We'll also give some best bets early leading into week 7. And, of course, tee up Browns versus Bengals. The Battle of Ohio. How the heck is that going to go? Let's get to the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Shabba-lubba hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Yes. Browns lose. 2016. Not one offensive touchdown. Again. I don't even know why I'm getting upset. This isn't surprising. We're not surprised by this. Boy, we'll get into some under-the-wire, waiver-wire fantasy football pickups. Big trade. Devontae Adams going to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers getting his way again. How about that? We'll dive into that. Some best bets as well. And we'll talk a little Bengals with Elise Jesse, fellow sick podcast host here. The Deep in the Stripes podcast. She will join me in just a few minutes' time. But let's take a very brief look back, please, at this Philadelphia and Browns game. And then we'll just wipe it away and move on. Let's give out some dog bones, doghouse. Let's go. All right. And make sure, folks, you're clicking subscribe, notifications on. Shows we got to get through this together, Browns fans. We got to get through this together, okay? Also, fantasy football questions, get them in. Hashtag Ask Andy. Follow along on Twitter, X, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram, at AndyMCSports. Again, click notifications on, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I'll start with the dog bones because it is a very short list, and it starts and ends, I feel, with one man. That's Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett. We are wasting the prime of this elite specimen's career. Again, just like last year in the Indianapolis Colts game, he leaped like Super Mario over the line, jumped again, swatted down the field goal. Rodney McLeod rumbled back for the touchdown. That was the only touchdown of the game for the Browns. And I'm not sure if you heard this terrifying stat. You know, Rodney McLeod, the backup safety, he is tied for the lead on the Browns in touchdowns with 2. Rodney McLeod is tied with 2 touchdowns. Rodney McLeod. That's how bad this useless offense is. So special teams get you that. Defense, again, you held Philly with all their weapons back to 20 points. Could they have done things better? Yes. But you held them to 20 points. This is the National Football League. 20 points with a $173 million offense. You're supposed to win. And Deshaun Watson and that offense, again, gets another chance in the fourth quarter to go out, win the game. Just get one. You'd be a hero. Nope. Can't do it. Can't do it. They stall. Field goal. Missed field goal. So what? Hopkins missed a field goal. Would have still been down by 1. Would we have come in and scored? No. Another little dog bone, though. I will give it to the running backs. I thought Donta Foreman ran very well. Pierre Strong as well. I thought at least there was a commitment, which gives at least some hope. With Nick Chubb coming back this week, I'm going to be at the game. I cannot wait for Nick Chubb. That's probably going to be the highlight of the game. Him charging out of the tunnel and everybody just erupting. So I cannot wait for Nick Chubb to come back. But let's make no mistake, Nick Chubb is not saving this football team with all the errors, the penalties, the calamity. Doghouse, offense. Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's head in the clouds. He's not here mentally. You want another contract, Coop? With who? Who's paying you? You lead the league in drop passes. Leads the league. And, of course, that fun little stat that all the Nationals like, oh, Deshaun Watson has more settled lawsuits than touchdowns. That's the quarterback I have to deal with. Yeah. We having fun, Browns fans? No. 20-16, losers. The offense stinks. Deshaun Watson's going to remain in because Kevin Stefanski has no choice not to be in. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Until Paul DePodesta changes. Until Paul DePodesta is out as chief strategy officer, is gone from making decisions, this will not change. You can fire Kevin Stefanski. They'll get another yes man. No, it won't be as good. It's a debacle. Okay, we'll get to some under the wire, waiver wire fantasy football pickups a little bit. You know what's going to make me feel better when I'm in Cleveland this weekend? It's going to be getting a couple hot dogs, some burgers, maybe deli sandwich, and slapping on some delicious stadium mustard. Home in Ohio. From ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between, Stadium Mustard is a smooth but spicy mustard, rich in taste and tradition. Stadium Mustard is real and organic, not manufactured. Available at Brown Stadium. That's where I'll be having some. Also at Guardians Minor League and Northwoods League. Stadium Mustard is phenomenal. Bill and the crew, sensational. He just got back from Scotland. Bill did, and he's spreading the word all overseas. So Stadium Mustard, make sure you check it out if you don't have it. It is available everywhere. All right, let's bring in Elise Jesse from the Sick Podcast team, deep in the stripes, and she covers the Cincinnati Bengals. And Elise, it's not like you guys are doing much better, but you can score 20 points, so that's good.
Well, you didn't score 20 points last week. Last week, their offense looked a little out of sorts, if you will.
Yeah.
But that's huge credit to the Giants defense. I mean, they had Joe Burrow's number. They made it really tough on Joe and the offensive line all night long on Sunday.
Yeah, that was rough. I have Zach Moss on a couple fantasy teams, and that was a bad Zach Moss day.
Ooh, that fumble was brutal. Was brutal.
I think he ended with 0.5 fantasy points. Outrageous. But not good.
He is I like him as a person, which has nothing to do with what he's doing on the field. But as a person, you kind of feel bad for him because you're like, dang, this dude's awesome. You wish that he wouldn't have had that fumble, which ultimately squandered a complete opportunity for the Cincinnati Bengals to score in that moment. And the Giants ultimately scored on their next drive after that fumble. So no good. They've lost 4 fumbles so far in 2024. And last season they had 2 lost fumbles in the entire year.
Wow. Okay. So ball control an issue. What about that running back group? Because Chase Brown really kind of creeping up each week. We see the targets, we see the focus, we see the handoffs going up. Is this a true committee? Does that not solve an edge? Where are we at with the running backs?
I think it is a true committee. They like to split the reps between Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Last year you saw a little bit of Chase Brown. You saw a few explosive plays from Chase Brown, but it was mainly Joe Mixon who had the rock the majority of the time. Right. Joe Mixon, of course, one of the best running backs at securing the ball as well. So they really didn't have a problem with ball security last season. But yeah, it's definitely more of a running back by committee this year without Joe Mixon now that he's in Houston.
So and again, credit to the Giants defense. The Giants, while still bad, I think overall have been better than most people expected with their defense, a little bit of offensive output. The receiver side, we know start of the year, Jamar Chase, things were slow. Is the offense outside of this Giants game just in general? Do you feel it's clicking? Is this offense is everything sort of back on track?
I think so. Going into that game, they were averaging like 28 points per game. So, I mean, and that's even with the New England game included, where they only scored 10 points in their home season opener.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow obviously has a lot to do with that. He had a career day a couple of weeks ago with 5 touchdowns. And Jamar Chase is obviously just so reliable. Of course, he had that drop, a very brutal drop on 3rd down where they could have had a big opportunity. It went right through his hands. But for the most part, Jamar Chase is very reliable. And then you've got T. Higgins, who is when he catches the ball, he's so physical and he's always fighting for that extra yardage. He just his motor does not stop. So the receivers there, and then Andre Yoshivas, he's elite. He is coming up. Joe Burrow really trusts him a lot. Yeah, he can make those plays. He gets his toes down, make sure he stays in bounds, make sure he secures that catch. He's super smart too. So he's just been on a tear this season as well.
Yeah, I like Yosevich, and boy, tough name to say and spell.
We call him Yoshi. Call him Yoshi for short.
I like Yoshi. Well, because Ivy League guy, and was kind of raw, but 2 years ago coming out of the combine, at least I was watching him, and I'm like, I like that guy. I don't know where he's going to end up, but I want to follow and watch. Went to the Bengals. I was hoping the Browns would get him. God forbid get someone and catch the damn ball, of course.
Not going to help you a little bit.
Not going to help. So now he's there, and really with the contract uncertainty of T. Higgins likely going to leave, I would think. there's an opportunity for him to pop up into that secondary role, that number 2 role next year, I would think.
Yeah, I would say so. And I think that Joe Burrow has obviously shown that trust is a big thing for Joe Burrow with his receivers. Simply put, if he doesn't think that you are running the right routes, if he doesn't think that you know the playbook, if he doesn't think that he can rely on you, he's not going to give you those opportunities to go up and catch the ball. So that's just how he operates. And the fact that he has thrown like big balls and big moments to Yoshi is a testament to the bond that they have, the trust that they have between them. Yeah. So that could benefit them, even if T. Higgins is gone next year.
Well, yeah. And then, you draft the next one and you kind of bring them up. And this is a chance against a Browns secondary, which is kind of weird. Like the defense is nowhere near as good as it was last year. Mm-hmm. But again, they only give up 20 points. Like your offense is, that's not terrible, but the secondary is banged up. I think this could be, if people are laying some bets down, maybe an anytime touchdown or over receptions or fantasy, might be a nice day for Yusevich coming out with the opportunity to maybe exploit a Greg Newsome who's been struggling. MJ Emerson's been inconsistent, whereas, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins get most of the focus. It could be some opportunity for him.
I think so. Although even though the Browns are 1-5, I truly, truly believe, having covered the AFC North for over 10 years, that you have to throw out the records. I don't even care what the Browns record is, because when 2 AFC North teams go back and forth, it simply doesn't matter. Joe Burrow has had such a tough time going up against Cleveland. And the main problem with Cleveland for Joe Burrow is Myles Garrett.
Yep.
You touched on him earlier. He is such a generational talent. He's got, what does he have? 4 sacks so far this year?
He's got 4. He had 2 tackles for loss on the weekend, as well as that incredible leapfrog field goal block.
Field goal block, and that turns into a touchdown. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, just he's a freak of nature, and they always talk about that in the Bengals locker room every single time they have to face the Browns. Myles Garrett is always at the top of the priority list in their speaking points. I believe Myles Garrett has 7 sacks on Joe Burrow throughout Joe Burrow's career. So he just wreaks havoc. I mean, he makes Joe Burrow's life a living hell every time they face him. So that's what I'm worried about. I'm kind of like, because obviously this offensive line has already dealt last week with the Giants defensive line. That Giants defensive line is one of the best. And now, after facing that Giants defensive line with sexy Dexy Lawrence, now you have to face Myles Garrett. You got to get back up on the saddle and face him. I mean, that's going to be a tall task. And I don't think that they are looking past the Browns at all.
Well, it's really only Myles Garrett. My game plan with this is Joe Burrow trips over something in the pregame, and Myles Garrett gets 7 sacks, and we kick a lot of field goals. That's it, because he can't score an offense. That's
your offense is interesting. When you said that the Browns were wasting Myles Garrett's career, I was wondering if maybe they would look at trading him. The November 5th deadline is coming up. I wonder if they would trade him, because this offense, I mean, you guys can't score out of the teens. It's crazy.
Well, I for one hope, and I hope we have Myles Garrett, career Brown, Hall of Fame, and all that. Because the thing is, at least the problem is, if you don't change the quarterback, it doesn't matter. You could have you could bring in Devontae Adams, who went to the Jets. You could bring in whoever you want. It doesn't matter, because Deshaun Watson stinks. The offensive line is injured, and the play calling is all discombobulated because of the Ken Dorsey, and they're trying to mesh everything. At least they're too busy trying to look smart, the front office, Ivy Leaguers, than winning ball games. And an example of that is, if you were concerned about winning ball games, you would have brought back Joe Flacco, who said he wanted to come back. But they knew that if they did that, there'd be Flacco chance game 1, because Deshaun Watson's so bad.
I feel like sometimes front offices are so focused on the money and what they're paying guys. And it's almost like a coach sometimes feels like he is forced to play a player that maybe doesn't deserve that type of playing time. I know Deshaun Watson has this fully guaranteed contract. What's he on for? 2 more years, 2026, right? Well,
after this year, 2 more. Yes.
2 more after this year. Oh my God.
So
they are in such a bad spot. It's like you're paying this guy all this money. So many resources are going to this guy, and he can't lead an offense. He can't generate an offense. It's wild to see. It's wild to see. And I think about the Bengals defense. They have not played. They maybe played their best game of the season on Sunday night.
Okay.
But now they're looking at Deshaun Watson. They're like, maybe we can build off of our performance on Sunday night and, wreak havoc against the Browns and maybe get their first, it would be their first win, I believe, Cincinnati's first win in Cleveland since 2017, if my memory serves me right. Yes.
Well, get ready for it. It's coming.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm not counting it out, but I know that the Cincinnati Bengals defense is going to focus on that and try to wreak havoc on Deshaun Watson because he has not been looking great.
At least he holds on to the ball too long. He misses open receivers. And then when he gets it to the receivers, they drop it. Or the offensive line gets a penalty. Nothing meshes.
Do you think they have any trust between them at all?
No.
Like, do you think Deshaun has the capability to lead this offense? Because when I look at the numbers, when I look at his like post game stuff, I'm like, oh man.
At least he hasn't reached 200 passing yards.
I know
he hasn't reached 200. That's obscene. That hasn't been done since the Jaguars. I think they said 2015, 17, something like that. Doesn't matter. It was the Jaguars who stink too. He can't throw 200 yards in a game. He can't complete anything. And the Browns offense here is the magic elixir for defenses. At least we've played, quote, bad defenses all year so far. The Eagles had 6 sacks total for the season. They got 5. Mm-hmm. My advice for fantasy football people, stream defenses, whoever the Browns are playing. You're gonna get some good points.
Yeah, you almost wonder how Deshaun Watson in this offense is going to handle Cincinnati's defensive line because they now have everybody fully healthy. Everybody on the defensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals, BJ Hill and Sheldon Rankins were both out for multiple weeks with hamstring injuries. And then last week, BJ Hill came back a couple of weeks ago, but then Sheldon came back this week on Sunday night. That defense looked totally different. It looked completely different. And that's even without Dax Hill, who is out with an ACL. But DJ Turner filled in really well for him. And now that they have the ability to get some kind of pressure up front, it's almost like it relieves the back end of the defense. So they look totally different, which makes me worry for Browns fans a little bit.
Boy. Well, I'm telling you, in my fantasy leagues, I'm literally on the waiver wire. I am picking up the Bengals defense for this week. Then I'll probably drop them. But I will
shocking. If you would have told me that in week 3, I'd have been like, oh,
right?
Man, that's not a good idea.
No, absolutely.
But after the way they played last week, it makes sense.
So the defense overall is the secondary. Essentially the front line, they wasn't given the secondary much time. Now you feel there's more of that balance.
Yes, there's a lot more balance now that they have. It was just, and they got Mike Hilton back. He's a nickel corner last week, and he's a veteran. He makes really great decisions. He's very smart. Like mentally, he just makes really great decisions. He hangs out on routes and bats balls down. He is a problem to deal with. BJ Hill is obviously an issue. He went back home last week against the team that drafted him, and then had that batted pass, which ultimately turned into an interception by Jermaine Pratt. Those two were college roommates, and then they roomed together on the road now too in the NFL. So finally, it seems like having a solid, healthy defensive front is really helping the rest of the guys just play within their role, play within themselves, and finally come away with some much needed takeaways.
Yeah, take care of yourself. And on that D line, outside of Myles Garrett, everybody's a ghost. Zadarius Smith pops up once in a while, says boo, pops out and goes back, into the shadows. Quentin Jefferson, you signed from the Jets. He hasn't done barely anything. Tomlinson's nothing. Yeah. You got JOK with his big bubbly helmet. He's doing well. And that's about it. So
you almost wonder, where do they go from here? Where do the Browns? I'm sorry, I know this is your show, but I've been so curious about the Browns because I'm like, what? You guys finished the year. You go to the playoffs.
I know.
11-6. Granted, you got blown out by Houston. But you finished 11-6.
4 different quarterbacks. 5? Defensive player of the year, coach of the year, assistant coach of the year. But everything, I think it's about that the team is seeing this isn't about the other 52 guys. This is about trying to make people above look smart for Deshaun Watson. And that has to wear on you whether they admit it or not. Otherwise, you would have brought back Joe Flacco. 100% you would have brought back Joe Flacco. Also, other play. Kareem Hunt wanted to come back. He's from Cleveland. He loves it. No, Kareem, you're not good enough. Oh, but he's good enough for the defending Super Bowl champs. It goes for 100+ yards. Thanks. Yeah.
It's a disaster. I almost wonder, who do you think guys in the front office would start to lose jobs with Deshaun Watson, that decision to sign him to a fully guaranteed contract?
So here's the thing. And if you look at the press conference with Kevin Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry, when they had to sit there, not Jimmy Haslam, the owner, when they had to announce that they signed Deshaun Watson, both of them looked like their dog died. They did not make this decision. No way.
No.
At least you saw the face. I'm like, as soon as I saw, I'm like, nope. They didn't. Andrew Berry didn't make that deal. Jimmy Haslam was like, that's the guy I like. Go get him. And you ruin the future. You ruin the present. And now it's okay. So that's why, again, Kevin Stefanski's not going to lose his job right now because he's doing what he's told. If Kevin Stefanski was standing up and started Jameis Winston, he'd lose his job.
Yeah.
Andrew Berry,
tough spot, man.
He's doing what I think it comes down to. Paul DePodesta, the Moneyball guy, for some reason is running a football team strategy. It's him. If it stays like this, it's him, and he's in the owner's ear. So unfortunately, there's really no escape. That's the problem. So that's why I'm just chugging my stadium mustard here. And
you better get a couple more bottles of that stadium mustard.
Get stadium mustard. I got my Cleveland whiskey here, man. That's it. We combine those things. That's all I got. So you know what? You have to look for the small positives. So I'm going to be in Cleveland this week. Nick Chubb's coming back. Going to meet up with a bunch of friends. That's going to be fun. But the thing is, Nick Chubb coming back, the crowd will love it. But at least what do they do? The offensive line is banged up. He might play well. He might not. It's not going to win the game.
I know the offensive line's banged up, but can they still find a way to run through Nick Chubb? Because Nick Chubb is the Cincinnati Bengals defense always talks about how elite of a running back he is and how tough he is to bring down. They have a really tough time with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb has burned them on multiple occasions.
That's
so you almost wonder if maybe they, with Deshaun Watson just being out there on a horrible island, you almost wonder if Nick Chubb could run this offense through him.
Boy, I would love that. And the little glimmer was this past week where they were running the ball so poorly. They started to commit to the run more and actually run it pretty well with Pierre Strong and Donta Foreman. So you'd think Nick Chubb back. But the other wrinkle is, all right, this is his first game back from having multiple ligaments repaired over 2 surgeries. And he hasn't played since week 2. I hope he's, they call him Batman. I hope he comes back and he's just, but it's probably unreasonable to think that the first week, 2, 3, maybe 4, that he's going to be the old Nick Chubb.
You almost wonder if they would limit his snaps out of fear of putting too much of a heavy workload on him coming right out of surgeries and stuff like that. I mean, granted, I don't think any player in this league this day and age would go back or go into a game or start a game when they don't feel 100% because their body is how they make their money, obviously. But I do wonder about that. I wonder what his workload will be coming back.
Me too. I think that'll be interesting. And maybe it's a case where let's use him less, but have him fresh. Have those limited snaps mean more.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, especially in those crucial scoring opportunities. I think they will have scoring opportunities. I really do think they will. But you wonder if Nick Chubb is maybe used in those situations.
Well, before we let you go, the Bengals are 6-point road favorites. Again, if I'm on the DraftKings Sportsbook, I'm taking the alternate spread, and I may be taking 10 just because. If the Bengals score 25, 30, the Browns just can't score. So, that'd be my advice. What's your prediction for this game?
If I'm thinking, here's the thing. This is what tells me that the Bengals their offense will look different from last week. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, even though they won, they were pissed off after that game. You didn't see a smile from either one of those players. They were pissed. Their offense looked out of sorts. Their offense looked clunky. There were a lot of mistakes that they had with their offense. Offensive line just didn't really seem like they were handling the defensive line very well at all. Joe Burrow took unnecessary hits. I think he was hit 7 times, 4 sacks. There was 1 sack where Joe Burrow's head went back and hit the turf, and he had to go into the blue tent, and everyone is worried about whether or not he had a concussion. He said he didn't. He said he was surprised that he had to go into the blue tent, but I think that they will come out on fire simply because they are so pissed off about their performance in front of everybody they know. They are in primetime national stage. Everyone is watching Sunday night and their offense looked like that. No, I think they're going to come out on fire as much as I think it's going to be a totally different offense. So I think that the Bengals, I think they could reach 25 simply because they're going to be running with anger. I mean, Joe Burrow runs and plays with anger. He likes to compare himself to Squidward of SpongeBob. So I think that when he's pissed off, man, get out of his way. I know his dad told me that once.
That's funny.
So yeah, I would say like 24-17. I am going to give the Browns 2 touchdowns, and that's purely because Nick Chubb is coming back.
Boy. Or Myles Garrett scoop fumbles and runs 2 in himself.
Yeah, he could. He could.
He could.
You have to account for the guy. The guy is just a game wrecker. That's all we talk about. I swear, Cleveland week, Myles Garrett is at the very top of the talking points.
Come on, Myles. That's it. Well, the grim news for Browns fans continues with a pissed off Bengals team coming to town. Elise, tell people where they can find your show, watch it. You've been such a fantastic addition to the Sick Media Network. Glad to have you on, and you've been a delight to talk to. It shows that rivals can have fun talking to each other.
Yes, absolutely. I would totally watch a game with you in person, too.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that. Our show is Deep in the Stripes. We're Bengals podcast, and we do it on Mondays and Fridays. We like to do the game recaps because Bengals fans love to rant about Bengals football, especially when they lose. So we've had a lot of rants so far this year at 2-4.
Well, Battle of Ohio hopefully will be a competitive, fun game. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
For sure. Bye, Andy.
All right. See you later. There she is, Elise Jesse from Deep in the Stripes podcast. Great having her on. Fantastic insight behind the scenes with the Cincinnati Bengals coming to town. Not great. They're going to be angry after a win. That's not good. Really, I think the Browns' only shot at first is to capture the emotion of Nick Chubb coming back. Opening drive. If you can get Nick Chubb scoring a touchdown on the first possession, maybe you get that spark Kevin Stefanski was talking about. And then from there, I don't know. There's no answers for this offense because they don't change anything. And I just don't want to put too much on poor Nick Chubb's shoulders after all he's recovered and come through. But damn it, Nick, we need you, brother. We need you. Get the 24 Batman sign in the sky. We need you. Oh, but you know what you need some cool shirts. How about that? You need some cool shirts from Homage. Meet our guys. Look at this. This is my, can I get autogram? Look at the autogram shirt. Please, can I get an autogram back? Dig them up. It's Halloween. Zombify autogram. Homage specializes in ultra comfy, high quality looks, repping sports, pop culture, and more legendary moments. Learn more about Homage with the link in the description. And I'm telling you, folks, the shirt, it's comfy. Like some shirts you get, and it's like kind of, I don't know, scratchy or something. This is soft, looks good, makes the shoulders pop, brother. Right. Makes the shoulder looks good. And look, you're not going to find an autogram shirt anywhere. There's another one I got with the original Browns logo helmet. Whole bunch of cool gear. Check out our buddies at Homage. Okay. We got Browns Bengals coming up. Again, I'm going to be in town. We're riding in Friday. So we're going to be setting up camp for a lot of the weekend at Johnny's Little Bar downtown. If you're going to come to Cleveland this weekend, hit me up. Let me know on Twitter, X. Send me a note at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. Leave a comment right here too. Instagram at AndyMCSports. Let me know. You can come. You can buy me a beer. How about that? I'll let you. Or a bourbon. Whatever. But no, come down. And if you're around, and we'll chat. We'll do a bunch of live hits. Get the atmosphere. Get ready for the game. So it's going to be tons of fun. But we also have some fantasy football business to cover. Let's get down to the wire. All right, so the big news, Davante Adams going from the Raiders to the Jets, conditional third. It's a third unless Adams becomes first or second AP All-Pro and or not both, but or the Jets reach the conference championships. So anyway, that's the compensation. Davante Adams, we know Aaron Rodgers loved to funnel this guy the ball. Loved it. It was a case where we knew the ball was going in his directions 15 times a game, like it or not. Now, fantasy-wise, good news if you've been a patient Davante Adams owner. Bad news if you're a Garrett Wilson and to a lesser extent, Alan Lazard owner. Might be a time, and I have Garrett Wilson on one of my teams, might be a time to dangle. Don't give him away, but maybe put him in a trade package. See if you can get anything for him right now, because I would think with Garrett Wilson already not dominating shit. Now, he had a great game fantasy-wise yesterday, but might be time. might be time to get rid of him. Now, if we need fantasy football waiver wire help this week, under the wire, on bye, we have the Bears and the Cowboys. So we are missing some talent there, despite Dak Prescott sucking in fantasy and in real life in that game. He's out. Caleb Williams is out. Might be time to dust off Justin Herbert of the Chargers, rostered in just 41% of leagues. And the reason being, now you look at Justin Herbert's fantasy line, 237 yards, 1 touchdown, 13.68 fantasy points. You're like, true. However, it was watching the game and you saw, I think he played maybe his crispest technique-wise football, certainly of this season. And there's a real upside for Arizona, a Cardinals defense that allowed 4 passing touchdowns against the Packers last week. You got Ladd McConkey. Certainly they need to upgrade the weapons, but they have enough. And Herbert's looking crisp, and they have to respect the run game. Could be a nice spot start for Justin Herbert if you're in quarterback trouble. 41% rostered, looks real good. And now with Justin Fields, you got to track the Russell Wilson scenario. He's 56% rostered. Like, Justin Fields been getting it done. So, if he's around too, and it's not Wilson, you could probably go him. Now, there are some interesting options that caught my eye specifically at wide receiver this week. So, of course, you're going to be without CeeDee Lamb, going to be without Bears receivers. And this might be next to the Browns. The worst offense in football. New England Patriots. But how about Demario Douglas? Demario Douglas, I want some shares of him. And I'm going to try to get some too. 3 out of the last 4 weeks, he's hit double digits fantasy points. 21.2, I'm talking PPR, last week. 11.9 the week before. San Francisco squashed him. They had 4.3. 14.8. But the main thing I look at in this is targets. Is he getting like 2 catches and one's a 70 yards and it's a fluke? No. In those 3 games, he hit double digits. 9 targets each game. Only 1 touchdown, first career touchdown. But you're playing Jacksonville. They're giving up just under 30 points per game. Drake May. And what was encouraging is he's done this to Demario Douglas with 2 different quarterbacks, and Drake May kept going his way. Now, the Patriots going to win that game. Jacksonville, that's up for grabs. It's in London. Demario Douglas rostered in just 8%. 92% availability. Demario Douglas, I really like. Running back-wise, Brown's old friend, Dearness Johnson. Remember Dearness? Look, spot start. I was at the game in Denver on Thursday night in 2022. I think it was 2022 or 21. Anyway, whenever they played Denver. And Baker was out. So that would have been 21. Baker was out injured. Case Keenum was in. Nick Chubb was banged up. And Dearness Johnson went for 100 yards. And you give that guy opportunity, he produces. Looks like Travis Etienne's going to miss time. You have Tank Bigsby, but Johnson got enough shares. So if you're in trouble, you might want to get him into a flex spot if you need some help there. Now, he might only get you 10, 11 points, maybe a little touchdown dependent, but it looks like the volume could be there enough to carry him. There was Bub Means. Who had on their fantasy bingo card they'd be thinking about adding Bub Means? Certainly not I. Thursday night football against Denver, short week. Shaheed's knee looks banged. It looks bad. We're gonna get some clarity, so track that. It looks week to week. Chris Olave's banged up. Bub Means with Spencer Rattler, who I was a little maybe optimistic. I was like, maybe he did not look good. Does he start? Does the Jake Haener start? Might not matter because he had 8 targets, 5 catches, and a touchdown. Only 45 yards, so a bit dink and dunkish. But for PPR, got you 15.5 fantasy points. And if you're limited at wide receiver options, Bub Means goes right to the top of the list to options for the Saints. So that's a guy who's rostered right now. Is it 0? It is 0. 100% availability for Bub Means. 100%. I'm going to try to get him for this week anyway, right? See what goes on. Zach Ertz, nice add again, 25% rostered. Your tight end cycle. 7-8. He got 10.8 fantasy points last week. He'll get you 7 to 10. It's not bad. It's not the worst. He's getting options. Washington's playing well. Andrei Yasevich that we talked with Elise about. Now, real life wise has been valuable. Fantasy wise, outside of week 2 and 3. Week 2 and 3 did quite well when I told you to get him. Then he's fallen off. We've only had 1, 2, and 3 targets each of those weeks in that order of 1, 2, 3 targets. So not great. Does playing the Browns give an opportunity for that? Maybe. At least somebody, if you can afford to grab and park somebody on your bench for now. I still want to have, he's got 3 touchdowns. Now those came in weeks 2 and 3. But he has scored. And like Elise said, has the trust of Joe Burrow. So that could grow. And if there is an injury on the Cincinnati wide receiver core, he'd move up the level. So he's right there. Yeah, there's Greg Dortch. Yeah, Arizona, not too interested in that. That really sort of maps out what I'm looking for. Jonathan Brooks is going to be coming off the IR. You might want to stash him if you don't have him for Carolina Panthers. Probably going to be in a timeshare with Chuba Hubbard. So those would be my main picks right there as far as the waiver wire. But if you have any fantasy football questions, hashtag Ask Andy. You can ask in the comments here on X, Twitter platform, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram, at AndyMCSports. Get those fantasy football questions in. And remember, you can score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the Sportsbook app and use code 6sports. That's code 6sports for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. $5, get 200 bonus bets. Makes sense to me. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
There you go. DraftKings Sportsbook, best around. Do it. So this Sunday, usually we're live 10 a.m. Eastern. So I'm going to be in Cleveland. So this is why you want to make sure you're following the channels. You're subscribing here to the Sick Podcast on YouTube. You're on Twitter at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram at AndyMCSports. I'm going to be on my Sick Picks from Cleveland. We're going to be doing fantasy football start sits. We're going to have lots of fun content from around town. So it's going to be a very cool time. So again, get those questions in. You got them. And make sure you're following along because it's going to be a real good time up until at least kickoff. I'm going to enjoy myself Friday, Saturday, and up until kickoff. We'll cheer for Nick Chubb. And then we'll see what happens after that. Might have a live walking out of the stadium rant. Who knows? Or maybe we'll be giddy with joy that they finally pulled out a win. Hard to say. Thank you so much to my guest, Elise Jesse from the Sick Podcast, Deep in the Stripes, covering the Bengals. Does a great job at that. Lots of fun talking to her. For Sammy, to all of you, thank you very much. I'm Andy McNamara. You've been watching the Sick Podcast. And as always, go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.